Hi, welcome to another Urban Outdoorsman SoCal video. My name is Danny Milton, and today we're going to be talking about the Ibis Mojo HD5. So just to let you know, I'm going to be splitting these bike reviews up into a couple of different parts. That way I can talk a little bit more and give you a little bit more information as far as all the different aspects of this bike. You know, the manufacturer, the parts, the different prices on the models, the initial feel, the climbing, and the downhill, and then just, you know, my overall opinion and view of these specific bikes. So in the first part, I'm going to talk about the bike itself, you know, the manufacturer, the specific components that the bike comes with, the different price models. We're also going to talk about the initial feel of the bike, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a video of the first trail that I went down over in Aliso Viejo. The base model of this bike is the NX, that's the NX drivetrain. That starts at $43.99. If you want to move up to the SLX package, that is $51.99. The GX package is $54.99. The XT package, which is the package that I rode, is $5,899. The XO1 that has the AXS components, that's the wireless, you know, shifter and dropper post, that comes in at $8,300. And then the top of the line one, which is the XTR, is $92.99, $9,300. So what Ibis offers you is, in all of these models, it's all carbon frame. It's their best carbon out there. It's the only carbon they offer. Not like some companies that have cheap carbon and their top of the line carbon, which I don't understand. Ibis, right out of the box, gives you their best carbon up front. No cheap carbon prices like that. Now, what will be very interesting to see is, a while ago when I did the reveiw review, at the time they only had the carbon fiber frames. And one of the things that I mentioned in my video is that they really need to come out with some aluminum frames to bring the price down, because these bikes, Ibis bikes, do tend to be a little bit more on the pricey side. Now, they are a little bit pricier, but you're getting a really great bike for those prices, you know, compared to all of the other brands as well, you know, Giant, Santa Cruz, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully Ibis is watching this video. Hey, Ibis, make this bike an aluminum frame, drop that price down, you know, to $3,000, like the reveiw AF came out just recently, and the base model for that bike is $3,000. If they could do that with this HD5, hopefully they can. I don't know, because the HD5 kind of has that funky little piece going from the down tube and the top tube. I don't know if you could do that same thing with an aluminum frame. It'd be really great if they could get a base model for this bike, you know, right around that $3,000 range. And, you know, you're going to sell a lot of bikes. For $4,300 is not bad compared to most carbon frame bikes out there, especially top of the line carbon frame bikes. But still, even the difference between $4,300 and $3,000 is a big difference for some people, and I think it'd be really great if they could do that. The things that you can upgrade on this bike: you can upgrade the front shock, the rear shock, you can upgrade to carbon wheels, you can also upgrade the tires, which I wouldn't recommend. The Maxxis tires are awesome. You can also upgrade the handlebar to a carbon handlebar. You can upgrade, what's the other thing? The dropper post. If you want to keep just a regular KS Rage dropper post, which is 125 or 150 millimeters, you can upgrade that to the bike yoke, which comes in a 125, 160, or 185 millimeter dropper post. And I just got to say, it's the first time I've ridden a bike with a dropper post that long, 185, and it literally felt like I was sitting on the ground. I mean, the handlebars, it felt like they were monkey bars. Not really, but it was a lot lower than I was used to, and it was really great. So the price of the bike that I rode had some upgrades on it. It had carbon rims and it had the Gripper 2 front shock. And the price of that bike was $71.88. Now that's a lot of money, and I don't want to get into a long rant here, but at that price, you're getting a lot of bike, you're getting a lot of top of the line components. And if that, you know, if that amount of money doesn't shock you, then great, go for it. You're going to love this bike. It's going to last you a really long time, and you're going to have a really top of the line bike. If that price does shock you, what I would say is go for the base model. The NX version of this bike is $43.99. You're getting the same frame, the same carbon frame. You're getting a little bit lower of a shock, but it's still a Fox 36 performance shock. It just doesn't have that grip or two. You're going to go with aluminum rims, which are fine. I've had aluminum rims on my bike for 2 years, and I mean, they've taken some pretty bad hits, and you know, you just tweak the spokes a little bit, and you still have you get your rims back to being straight. And that is a really good value price for a lot of bike that you're getting at that $43.99. So if I was going to recommend it, I would definitely recommend that base model. You're going to get a great bike, and you're going to get a lot of components at that price. So definitely go with the base model. If money's no object, go for the XTR. Go for the SRAM X01. You know, with the AXS stuff, all the wireless stuff. That's also going to be really great. So all of these specs that I'm going to be giving you as far as geometry goes, and you know, wheelbase, all that kind of stuff, is based on the extra large HD5 frame. And I'm always comparing these geometry specs to my bike, which is a 2018 Giant Rain. So the first thing I noticed right away is that the stack on this HD5 was much higher than my bike. Both bikes have 27.5-inch wheels, but you know, that stack being higher, that kind of, you know, put me off just a little bit, because I was a little bit worried that the bike wouldn't be quite as nimble in the front end as my bike is. You know, compared to like a lot of 29ers that I've ridden that have a very high stack, and that front end seems to be, you know, a little bit slower, a little bit of understeer. So I was a little bit worried about that. So the reach is 8 millimeters longer at 503 millimeters. The front shock is obviously longer as well. It's a 170 millimeter travel front shock. The stack itself is 32 millimeters higher than my bike, which is 640 millimeters. I'm looking at my notes here. It's hard to remember all these numbers. And that kind of worried me at first, because that higher stack will sometimes put you a little bit farther back away from the handlebars, and it'll take some of that weight off of the front tire. And in doing so, sometimes, especially on 29ers, it creates understeer, whereas you really have to lean into that front, that front tire to keep traction on the ground and to have the bike still feel very nimble. On my Giant Rain, I don't have that problem at all, and almost every 27.5 bike that I've ridden never had a problem with it not being nimble enough in the front. So the wheelbase on this HD5 is 22 millimeters longer than my Rain at 1,280 millimeters. The head tube angle is 64.2 degrees, which is more slack than my Rain, and the seat tube is 76 degrees, which is a pretty common place now for most enduro bikes. A lot of companies are going to that 76 degree seat tube angle. What that does is it pushes you a little bit farther forward, gets you over the pedals and the cranks a little bit more, so you're pushing down, directly down more, instead of having to reach out in front of you with your feet. It just makes it easier. Gravity is helping your legs push straight down as well. So it's a much more comfortable position to pedal in, and it'll be much more efficient climbing hills. One other thing really quick, or actually two other things really quick, is we're going to talk a little bit about the drivetrain, and this has the Shimano XT drivetrain. It also has the new Assegai tires. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is the first time I've ridden a bike with both of those things on there. The Shimano XT drivetrain was very quick. It was very solid, especially, when we have to crank through, when you're going through, like a high speed gear, going into a low speed gear, and you've got to, crank through, 6 or 7 gears in the back really quickly. This bike did it very quickly, very efficiently. There wasn't any hang-ups or drag on any of them, even while I was pedaling under power. The tires are a little bit different than the DHF model, whereas the center block is a little bit more square, and it just seemed to roll a little bit. There was less roll resistance in that front tire, but it still has a nice big blocky, side parts, and it performed amazing. I was really impressed. I was a little bit worried about it because I hadn't ridden that tire before, but it did really good, compared to my DHF. One other quick thing too about that XT drivetrain is that those top 3 gears, the 3 lowest speed gears, the 3 biggest, sprockets on the back, are 39, 45, and 51. And I kind of like how they're grouped a little bit closer together. There's there's a 6-tooth difference between each of those, whereas on the SRAM drivetrain it goes from 42 to 50, which is a 8-tooth difference. And it makes it just a little bit easier, especially on that low speed end, to find a better spot to pedal in, instead of having to either be, you know, on the SRAM, you're either in that eagle gear or you're all the way down to a 42, and there's just a little bit too much of a gap there for me. So this XT drivetrain really fills kind of that void just a little bit better. Plus on top of, you know, it's a 51 tooth, so, you know, they've got that over SRAM as well by, you know, 1 tooth. All right, so this is gonna be kind of like my initial feel. Then I go down Lynx, kind of easy. See how the bike feels. Don't want to get too crazy on the first one, but super stoked to have this bike on my local trails. See how it feels. It's very planted so far. Not going super crazy on the speed. Just want to get a feel of how it's going to ride. Plus this Hero Dirt is really going to help the way it feels. God, that sun in my eyes. It's kind of hard to see the line. Very good so far though. It's like the front shock is firm, but not hard. You know, it's stable. This bike is really long at 1280 millimeters, even longer than my giant Rain. Woo. A little rowdy right there. Oh yeah, very planted. Back end feels really good too, nice and solid, not stiff. Really soft on that little drop right there. Yeah, the front end it's firm, but it's a good firm. It's nice and stable and a solid feel, not like a firm and kind of choppy feel. And the back end felt really good as well. That was nice. So pedaling uphill on this HD5 has been really nice. I think the DW Link suspension, rear suspension, is probably the best for pedal efficiency. I haven't ridden a Yeti in a while, so I definitely need to do that, but compared to Giant with their Maestro and Santa Cruz with their VPP, I definitely think the DW Link is the best. I have the shock wide open. It's a DPX2, which is kind of my favorite rear shock as well. And there is absolutely no pedal bob at all.
Morning.
Morning. It's just super stable. I know this is just kind of like a fire road, but still, even when I do go over the slight bump here and there, it's very firm. It's very firm when it's pedaling, but it's doing really well. I'm also really liking this XT drivetrain. This is the first bike that I've ridden with the new one with the 51 tooth cassette in the rear. And what's really nice too is it has an extra cassette between the 42 and the 51. I think it's like 46, which the SRAM drivetrain does not. It goes from 42 to 50.
But this system has been really quick and snappy, very solid, even under load when I'm pedaling. Just a second ago, I went from probably mid cassette all the way up to the 51 tooth, like barely moving as a hill came up on me, just to see if it would, you know, get a little chunky or get stuck. And it hit that top cassette like no problem at all. So I'm really happy with that as well. It does have a 32 tooth chain ring in the front, which I would probably switch out to a 30. I have a 28 on my bike, but I think with this drivetrain and how well this bike is pedaling, a 30 would be perfect in the front.
Okay, so thanks for watching today's video. So far the bike is looking really good. Stay tuned for part 2. That's going to be coming out in 2 or 3 days. In part 2, I'm going to be talking about how I felt climbing this bike after, you know, going up the trail a bunch of times. We're also going to talk about how I felt about it going downhill. I was able to demo this bike for 2 separate days over in Aliso Woods. So I was able to do Lynx a couple times. I did Rocket a couple times. I also did 5 Oaks. So stay tuned for that video. I'll let you know how the bike did going up the hill, down the hill, all that other fun stuff. Thanks a lot for watching. So one more thing you can do to help me out would be to click on one of these boxes up in the corners. One's going to take you to a playlist, and the other one's going to take you to a favorite video. And always you can click on that logo in the center, the Urban Outdoorsman SoCal logo, to subscribe. Thanks a lot.